So there's a lot of hatred towards foreigners. Due to this Trump, I was talking on the train, asking people to please speak out for me. There's some black Americans threatening to stab me in the bathroom. And this black American said, shut up, I was smoking drugs. He was smoking drugs on the train. So your MTA, there's all kinds of widespread xenophobia. Since they killed a black American on the train, Jordan Neely, and you MTA, you've demonized homeless, that we homeless had the problem. So now people are attacking me as a poor African. My mother was killed. My mother said her daughters are part of a narcotic gang, and they've killed her. And I believe some of those narcotic gang, I also follow me around, So as I got on the train, I always talk on the train to people that please, my mother. I was telling people that my mother was killed, and the authorities refused to help me investigate. Before my mother was killed, also she reached out to the authorities. She always calls 911 on the daughters. She always goes and meets with all these assembly people. I don't know. She always contacts the police on the daughters. She says she tried to report them to Pittsburgh police, Pennsylvania police before in 2015. She says she tried to report them to the police in New York, and they wouldn't help her. She's from Nigeria. The daughters framed as crazy and eventually killed her in 2015. Got her locked up in the mental ward as my mother was getting treated for heart disease. So apparently, my mother was saying her daughters were interested in stealing the lawsuit money, because me and my mother was suing the police for the police taking her home on Staten Island. And then Ghana was helping my mother and the police when I killed her Ghana. So it's a messy story. I don't even know where. So I was just talking on the train, and this black American guy was smoking drugs openly. I was like, shut the fuck up before I hurt you. I had to run away from the train. So I was just telling people to please help me contact the authorities. My green card has been stolen, my Nigerian passport has been stolen, and I reached out to the DHS. They don't respond back to me. All they do is to threaten us, saying that they're going to deport all of us. So I have no choice than to be trying to, and people don't even seem interested. So FIFA is not safe to bring the World Cup here. They're abusing us foreigners. Please donate to my Cash App NYC Homeless. I may be killed soon. I'm a Nigerian. The Nigerian government's not helping me. And I believe there's some people that are interested in killing me, and then having my mother's daughters inherit my property, and any loss of money, and I'm sharing it with the gang members, So please, if you're watching my video, please, while I'm alive, please donate to my Cash App, NYC Homeless, so I can rent a place and stay away from the subway system. They're using black Americans to attack people in the subway. Some of them are using drugs locally, and it's not requiring them, it's not really arresting them. It's focusing on poor homeless. So if they don't appear homeless, they require them to say they shouldn't arrest them. They should only arrest homeless. So a lot of these black Americans that don't appear homeless, don't have their belongings, the police will arrest them and they're doing drugs. Killed by the police. A lot of times when the police arrest people, they kill the person like they did Diallo. So please, I'm being set up as I'm criticizing the government here over the way my mother was killed. My mother's address was moved from a black American narcotic gang, Bolali and Farr. And so my mother said one of the daughters was poisoned her food with counterfeit poison. And all of a sudden my mother started having heart attack symptoms. So she fled Pennsylvania where she was living at with the daughters, because the police had taken her home on Staten Island. So my mother wanted to stay with the daughters, lured her. So please donate to my Cash App NYC Homeless, so that I can rent a place and stay away from the subway and be riding Uber. Because some black Americans threatened me today. I don't know how to find my location, but my mother said her daughters are moving with a narcotic gang. I don't know if they put a tracker in my bag, because my mother said the daughters were able to find her in the hospital. My mother didn't tell her what hospital she was in. She fled Pennsylvania in 2015. She was having heart attack symptoms to go to the hospital in New York. Because my mother suspected if she ever went to Pennsylvania, if she ever went to the hospital in Pennsylvania, the daughters would frame mental illness on her. They did it to me before in 2001. My mother took me to Pennsylvania because she was tired of taking care of me in New York. Because as soon as I came in from Nigeria, the immigration arrested me at the airport, said I didn't have the right visa. Even though my mother had a green card, I was a minor child. So my mother, and Adoras used to call the police on me to lock me up in the mental ward, because nobody wanted to help me, because I didn't have work papers, and my mother, she didn't have enough money to be helping me, and her daughters had money. They were American citizens. They even stole $100,000 from my mother's bank account, because my mother had won lawsuit money in the 80s because there was lead poisoning in the house. But when she went to Nigeria, the daughters faked her signature and stole $100,000 from her bank account, Hamilton Savings Bank. So when she came back from Nigeria, she was telling the Doors to help her with money so that she can take care of me, hire me a good lawyer. And the Doors wouldn't help her with any money, Bolani and Flora. So they told her to just dump me on the street, claim I'm crazy, and say, eventually I would just die homeless or, So my mother started calling the police on me. When I'm in the house, you say to lie to the police that I don't want to go to work, I don't want to go to school. And then they would take me to the mental ward at St. Vincent's Medical Hospital on Staten Island in 2000, and I was explaining to the doctor that, I have an immigration case, the immigration has my passport, I don't have a work permit, and my mother can't even afford my college tuition. That's what I'm in college. So the doctors told my mother to stop doing that, stop framing me as crazy, that the reason why I can't work is because I don't have work papers, and I just don't know how to steal other people's passports and go and use it to work. So the doctors in the St. Vincent's Hospital told my mother that the next time she calls the police on me, they're going to lock her up in the mental ward also for trying to frame me up. So after that, so my mother, she started having high blood pressure, So I called 911 to take her to the hospital because she couldn't sleep and she was having high blood pressure. She was feeling paralyzed. So when we got to the same hospital, the doctor decided to lock her up in the mental ward and misdiagnosed as depressed. And she wasn't depressed. So based on that, there was a medical record. The doctor decided to I'm sorry for cursing. So there was an Indian doctor. He started to revenge against my mother for always wasting the hospital's time. So since my mother has that record, it's a false record. My mother wasn't depressed since 2001. The daughters was start poisoning my mother, trying to send her to the hospital, so that when she goes to the hospital to treat a heart problem, they would tell the doctor to lock her up in the mental ward that she has a mental illness diagnosis since 2001. And then my mother said they were trying to get custody of my mother so that any lawsuit money my mother would win from the police taking out me and my mother so much time would go to them. So my mother said they were poisoning her food with counterfeit poison. My mother said even that Flora would drive her in a car, go and hit somebody's house just to get my mother to go to the hospital so they can then tell the doctor that she has a mental illness. They should lock my mother up in the mental ward and give them guidance. So my mother said one day that Flora was driving in Pittsburgh around 2004, 2015, and she intentionally drove and hit somebody's house. They had to call the ambulance and the people in the house called 911 because they didn't know why somebody drove into the house. Then my mother said that, and then Flora's husband tried to punch my mother, so my mother fled from Flora's house to Bolanle's house. In Pennsylvania. They said my mother said that Bolanle would leave snow on the floor. She wouldn't shovel the snow, so my mother would trip and fall. They said that Bolanle would be leaving stuff on the floor, so my mother would trip and fall, but they wanted to get my mother to go to the hospital. And when she's in the hospital, tell the doctor to lock her up in the mental ward and give them guidance over her. So my mother said somebody came to visit at Bolanle around 2014, 2015, and the person fell. Bolanle's house is, what's the address again? 432 Parklow Street, Pittsburgh, PA 15210. And she said, my mother said somebody came to visit that Bolanle 2014, 2015, and the person fell on the snow, and they called the ambulance to take the person to the hospital. So my mother said she started shoveling the snow for that Bolanle, and she said, my mother said now that Bolanle started poisoning her food with counterfeit poison, So my mother started having heart attack symptoms, so my mother fled to New York. My mother didn't know her address. I put a tracker in a bag, so my mother came to the hospital in Bellevue Hospital. All of a sudden, the daughter showed up without my mother telling her what hospital she was in. And they told the hospital doctor to lock her up in the psych ward. And they reminded the hospital about my mother's false diagnosis in 2001. So my mother was so angry that Doris would set her up like that. They said my mother died, trying to be free from the mental lockup. And if you see the agony in my mother's face when they killed her, they took a picture, her face was like, they said that hospital also would inject somebody with a deadly injection that causes heart attack. The injection called ketamine. They said that ketamine, they use it to sedate patients when they're locking them up in the psych ward. At Bellevue Hospital, some sedative. They said that sedative could lower your heart rate and kill you. They must have stabbed my mother so heavy with that injection. So please, I'm not safe. I've also been arrested. My green card was stolen. Somebody also stole my passport. So they're trying to leave me destitute. He said, my mother's address are trying to get custody and get access to the lawsuit money because the police took my home wrongfully and the immigration arrested me wrongfully. I've since gotten my green card, but they still believe it can hurt me and kill me and get access to my money because I'm not married, I don't have a child. I was born in I'm a woman. So I solemnly swear under United States perjury laws and I solemnly swear under United States perjury laws and other relevant laws and U.S. Constitution that I'm seeking unconditional charity donation to my Cash App and White Women or to me in person. I'm not looking for any surrogacy. I'm not looking for marriage. I'm not looking for any membership in any gang. And if in case I'm die or I'm killed, only civil activists like me should administer my estate. No family member should administer my estate or friend should administer my estate. And no family member or friend should get anything from my estate. Any assets that acquires to my estate should be used to get just for me and my late mother, and the rest should be donated to charity for those suffering xenophobia, and those being deported by Trump should be prioritized for help. Thank you.